What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel. Now, welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, your taste level is lacking. And if that's the case, then girl, we don't treat that here. But you probably can enter some kind of program for it. I don't know. I can only assume because I cannot relate. Yo, I got my little piece of Beyonce crawling around on the ground hair on today, and I like it. Proud as it's kept. It was almost the other Beyonce bang. Y'all, I have so many wigs. When I locked my hair, I kept all of my wigs, and a lot of them I have never even worn before. I have this other ginger one that I cut up yesterday while I was cutting on this one, and I love her too. So I'm in that mood. Y'all about to see me playing with these wigs that never got worn, okay? And now that we have addressed the hair, let's get into today's story. Today we are discussing the Staudte family, and child, a lot goes on. So we are going to get right into it, shall we? Now, in the meantime, we are going to have this bonnet on. Share this video with anybody but Monique, please. Anybody but Monique. Diane and Mark are high school sweethearts that cannot wait to finish high school and begin their lives together. And after graduation, they are off to doing just that. They purchased a nice little home in Springfield, Missouri, and go on to raise a total of 4 children together. Diane is a nurse who is also the organist at a Lutheran church, and Mark is the lead singer and guitarist of a local blues band called Messin' with Destiny. Now, the band does not really make that much money. The gigs are sporadic, and there's not much left after the money is divided amongst the group members. So to help bring in additional income, Mark works as a bartender. However, he does not work as his bartender as often as Diane would like, because it is not bringing in enough money still to relieve them of their financial burden and feed all of these kids. And what's also taking a toll on their marriage is the fact that 2 of their 4 children have special requirements. Their youngest daughter, Brianna, has a learning disability, and their son, Sean, has autism. The Staudtes receive some financial relief once their oldest daughter, Sarah, goes off to college, because now that is one less mouth they have to feed. However, when she graduates, she returns home with a mountain of student debt and no job, no means to pay it off. And then there is their daughter, Rachel. Rachel is Diane's golden child. She can do no wrong, and she is never a burden to her mother. She is a scholar with musical talents. She writes poetry. She is currently learning French and is the complete apple of Diane's eye. And Diane does not hide the fact that Rachel is her favorite. She praises her constantly. She brags about her literally to anybody who would listen. And if she didn't have anybody to brag to, she would get onto her Facebook profile and make all these posts about her, bragging about her learning French and being so smart and so, you know, all of the things that she appreciated about her. The Staudtes encounter the typical ups and downs of a family, nothing out of the ordinary. And then on Easter Sunday of 2012, Mark suddenly dies. Diane tells the police that her husband had been ill for several days, but had refused any type of medical treatment. That she had done her best as a nurse, but after he had come home from band practice, still not feeling well, he decided to just lay down. She went on to church that night. Now, about the next day or so, when he still has not gotten up, she goes to check on him and finds that at some point he had stopped breathing. His bandmates had actually noticed that Friday before that although Mark was able to perform, he was at times very delirious and obviously looked ill, and his skin has this yellow hue to it. Now, because he was not considered the healthiest guy, and several people had recalled him being sick for some time, his cause of death is ruled as natural causes. Now, friends and family who are taking Mark's death pretty hard noticed that Diane is not. She doesn't appear to be all that upset at all. But according to her, she and the kids had known he was sick for quite some time, and they had watched him progressively get worse. So this was something that they were able to brace themselves for. And because of that, it had not hit them as hard as everyone else. Diane receives a $20,000 payout from Mark's life insurance policy and moves to a new neighborhood in a larger, nicer home. Now, this was just in 2012, so I figured that the $20K couldn't be that much more than it would be worth today. Today, that would have been about $26,000. But she afforded all of this, okay? I don't make the news, I just report it. She moves into this home and all of her children move in with her as well. Now, Brianna with the learning disability is now 12. Sean with ASD is now 26. Sarah, the still very much unemployed college grad, is now 24. And the golden child, Rachel, is 22. But the now family of 5 would soon become a family of 4 when just a couple of months after losing Mark, on September 2nd, Diane finds her 26-year-old son, Sean, unresponsive on his bedroom floor. Diane tells police that Sean had been experiencing a lot of flu-like symptoms. He had started off with diarrhea, nausea, body aches, and a fever. He had also complained of some headaches. And all of this had been going on for the past 3 weeks. She also states that Sean had a history of having seizures once police take note of dry blood around his mouth. When they ask her why hadn't she, as a nurse, taken him to the hospital or to see a regular physician, she tells them that she didn't take her son because he didn't want to go, and she wasn't going to force him. Now, for Sean, Diane does not arrange any type of memorial service for him. There isn't even an obituary put together for him. There is nothing to commemorate him. He is simply cremated, and just like that, it is as if he never was. Now, in 2013, just the following year, the Springfield Police Department receives an anonymous tip from someone who claims to be close to Diane and her family. And the tipster tells them that there is something very fishy about these 2 deaths that have happened within the Staudte family, that Diane is lying to police. They point out that both of the men have been found with blood around their mouths and have died under similar circumstances, and that there is not a coincidence. And now Diane's daughter Sarah is at the house very sick, like in grave condition. She has no prior health concerns and they need to look into it. Sean's death, just like his father's, is ruled to have been due to natural causes. And again, people are noticing that she does not seem all that bothered. When one of the neighbors saw the coroner's van in their driveway, she approaches Diane and asks her, like, is everything okay? What's going on? And she very nonchalantly says, oh, my son died today. Like, completely void of emotion. Sarah, just like her father and her brother, had begun to experience a lot of flu-like symptoms. She is having a lot of body aches, a lot of chills, and her condition is escalating daily. It's getting worse. Diane moves Sarah into Sean's old room just until, Sarah is better. And she becomes very worried that Sarah is gonna die in that room. She does not want that to happen. So this time she does decide to take her child to the hospital. Now, when Sarah arrives to the hospital, she is in terrible shape. Many of her organs are failing. Doctors test for a number of diseases that will cause symptoms like the ones that she was having, but everything is coming back negative. They are completely stumped, and judging by her current condition, they are running out of time. In addition to organ failure, they find that she's also suffering from a brain bleed. She is in ICU, she's on life support, and they are scrambling to find out what is wrong with her. And what is also very puzzling to the medical staff is Diane's very jovial demeanor. She does not at all seem upset or worried about her daughter's condition. In fact, she cracks a joke with the doctor that Sarah's condition is not about to ruin her vacation that she has planned for the following week, because she is going on that vacation no matter what. It is certainly beginning to look like there is something to that anonymous tip that had come in. What if Sarah is not sick from any type of disease? What if she's been poisoned? They have tests run on Sarah at the hospital and nothing is detected right away, but they do call in Diane for another interview. She comes in, she is extremely calm. There is no sign of guilt or nervousness whatsoever. She's asked a lot of questions, many of which she's answered before, just to get her comfortable in talking. And as the interview progresses, they realize that things don't quite add up. Some things just are not making sense, and then she randomly brings up antifreeze. Now, when they asked her to elaborate on the antifreeze, like, stop there, what about antifreeze? First, she tells them that Mark and Sean both attempted to take their own lives by sipping on antifreeze. And at this point, detectives challenge her because girl who believes that, they tell her that she might as well come out and tell the truth, that things would go better for her in the end if she tells them what really happened right now. And to their surprise, she breaks fairly easily and makes a very twisted confession. Y'all, one that she was not prepared for, and I wasn't really prepared for when I was researching either. She and her beloved daughter Rachel felt like Brianna with her learning disability, Sean with his ASD and his seizures, and Sarah with her student loan debt that had to be paid had all been burdens to them, burdens that they decided together they should rid themselves of. Now, she says that it first began as a joke, but very quickly went from a joke to actually pondering the thought and eventually planning it out. Together, they had brainstormed and considered several different execution methods and methods of disposal. They knew that they did not want it to be messy, to be loud, and it turns out that Diane had only taken Sarah to the hospital because she didn't want the house to smell. Her exact words are, "I didn't want another one to die in the house because houses are nasty once someone's died in them." During their planning, they consider suffocation, they consider a pill concoction, and even look into poisonous plants before deciding on antifreeze. And they felt that that would be like the easiest, cleanest, and least detectable, like least suspicious. They go from trying to decide on a method to researching the supplies needed. Using the internet, they find out that the typical brands of antifreeze you find in the store have a very bitter taste, so they don't want those. But somewhere on the net, it is being discussed which brands of antifreeze are tasteless and odorless. And so once they come across these brands some kind of way, they order some online for Mark. They put it in his Gatorade and continue to feed it to him as he's becoming sicker and sicker. And for Sean and Sarah, they put it in their soda and did the same thing, really. Diane tells the investigators that she hated Mark's guts. She said that he would throw things at her and the children. He was very lazy and she just got tired of him. And she says that initially Mark was the only intended target, that she just wanted to rid herself of her husband and she wanted a little bit of insurance money. But after they had seemingly gotten away with it and were still dealing with the burdens of Brianna and Sean and Sarah, they decided to just get rid of all of them. With her confession, Diane is immediately taken into custody. A search warrant is obtained for the Staudte home, and inside of the home, they find a diary that belongs to her daughter Rachel and has some very interesting entries. One of which she made several months before Mark's death that reads, "It's sad when I realize my father will pass on in the next 2 months. Sean, my brother, will move on shortly after. It'll be tough getting used to the changes, but everything will work out." So of course they bring Rachel down to the station to talk to her. And y'all, apparently she's just crazy like her mama, okay? She is also very emotionless, and she tells them that she really didn't have a problem with these family members. She just simply wanted to help relieve her mother of the stress and unhappiness that came along with them being a burden to her. A lot of what Rachel tells police is very similar to what Diane had told them, but there were some things that were not the same. One of the biggest conflicts was Sean. According to Rachel, the plan was never just to take Mark out alone. And she tells investigators that she had actually been against targeting Sean, that she didn't want to kill him. Investigators assumed that it was because of his ASD as well as his seizure disorder and him not being expected to live independently that drove her to want to do this to Sean. But this isn't even what drove her to do it. It was his annoying personality. Diane says that her son was, quote, worse than a pest. Rachel says that she argued with her mother about Sean and had begged her to put him in an assisted living facility, but she was adamant that he had to go and refused to entertain any other option. Diane felt like sending him away would not be enough. All right, so this blue is making my eye water like crazy on the inner corner and the outer corner, so we're gonna switch her out for black. And it's so pretty. I hate to do it, but girl, I can't lose my eye behind this. behind this look. So without Rachel's blessing, Diane moves forward with administering the antifreeze to her son, Sean. And it takes 3 long weeks for Sean to die. At no point in that time does Diane even consider changing her mind. She just callously watches him deteriorate as she continues to feed him this poison. All right, I had to go pull myself together and get rid of that, but I'm still committed to my blue, so I'm gonna try to get the look with this eyeliner. Now, Rachel says that she was actually shocked once Sean died under the same circumstances as her father, and no one questioned it. But they definitely were afraid to poison Sarah right away. Like, that would just be pushing the envelope a little bit too far. So with her, they wait 9 months before they start giving her the antifreeze. Now, according to Rachel, it was decided that she had to go because she didn't want to work. And not only that, she did not want to do anything around the house. She didn't want to help clean. She did not want to contribute to the household financially. Rachel says that she just laid around watching YouTube videos all day. She also says, quote, she was nosy, very nosy. Then last but not least, there is 12-year-old Brianna. Now, despite Brianna also having special requirements, Diane claims that she had no plans of harming her youngest daughter, that her 2 youngest, which were Brianna and Rachel, were not as much of a burden to her as the others had been. This is another part of their stories that does not align, because according to Rachel, they had already decided that Brianna was to meet the same fate as everyone else because she was also too needy. And she had a lot of educational requirements, like a lot of school stuff that Diane just did not want to be bothered with. The women are placed under arrest after they give their confessions. And when the news hits of what had been going on with the Staudte family, everyone that knows them personally is stunned. Not only a mother doing this to her own children being unfathomable for most of them, to hear that a nurse who is also the organist down to the church is the one that would do something like this was completely a surprise. Diane's Facebook page is nothing but a bunch of religious posts, a bunch of praises for Rachel, a ton of Bible verses and inspirational quotes, and also prayers. It definitely does not give serial killer. And Sarah, who doctors say was as close to death as one could possibly get, miraculously survives, although she does suffer both severe organ damage and neurological damage as a result of the antifreeze. Now, she says that she had known that her mother was frustrated with her being back at home and not having a job, but she would never in a million years have believed or thought that her mother would do this to her. And I found this to be quite interesting because she also said that she had actually stumbled across her mother's diary months before anything had happened to her. And in the diary, she expressed plans of doing this. It had happened right after they had lost Sean, and she had confronted her mother about the diary entry. Her mother completely gaslit her and was like, you should not be invading my privacy, okay, in my own home. The problem at hand is the fact that you felt comfortable going through my diary. Somehow Diane was successful in making her daughter believe that there was nothing to the diary entry. And Sarah says she never even thought more about it until investigators tell her that her mother had confessed to poisoning her. Now, in addition to the 2 women's journals, they also find this piece of paper amongst Rachel's belongings that said, only the quiet ones will be left, my mother, my little sister, and me. Very bizarre. Brianna is placed into foster care. She was medically examined and there wasn't any signs that she had been poisoned herself, at least not yet. And during Diane and Rachel's trial, Sarah gets to say her piece regarding her mother and sister's very sinister plans for her. She says that she prefers to be a survivor instead of a victim, and she forgives her mother for not only what she had done to her, but what she did to her father and brother as well, which I thought was really big of her. Bigger person than I would have been, because according to the prosecution, Sarah would require a guardian and living assistance for the duration of her life as a result of the poisoning. Now, Rachel slides in and get herself a little plea deal to avoid a very harsh punishment. In 2015, she pleads guilty to second-degree murder and agrees to testify against her mother in trial. Now, it is Diane's turn to go to court She is up against 2 first-degree murder charges. And for this, she enters an Alford plea, which acknowledges that the prosecutors do have enough evidence to convict her, but at the same time, she does not have to admit guilt to anything. She basically said, look, I know what it looks like. I'm not saying I did it, but I know what it looks like, okay? Subsequently, she is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And now that little Miss Diane here has been in jail for a while, and she is, I guess, child, just ready to get out. She tired of the jail life. She is claiming that she was actually innocent. In fact, since their imprisonment, both Diane and Rachel have put in appeals to vacate their pleas. Rachel says that at the time that her lawyer was appointed, her fear of men was not accommodated, and this ultimately led to miscommunication, coercion, and mental distress. And Diane says, quote, I said what I was told to say. There's more to that than what people know. She did an interview with 2020 where she says that at the time that Mark got sick, he was hanging around some very strange and dangerous people, and that people have actually disappeared dealing with said group of people. And she had also heard a rumor that someone had put out a hit on Mark. Someone probably came in and gave him something. She even goes so far as to be like, now that I'm even thinking about it, I was even experiencing symptoms around that time too. I was also a victim. She said that she was nauseous and she couldn't pee. And Miss Girl is still sitting behind bars where she needs to be because, girl, you did that, okay? We ain't fools. I feel like Diane is sick in the mind, and she made up this whole lie about being innocent and it being somebody else because at this point she is tired of being in jail, okay? She wants to be free. And honestly, if I was locked up behind bars for life, I would try a little something too. I can't even really be mad. Yes, I can. I am mad. I really believe that if push came to shove, though, she would have killed Rachel as well. And I think that even with everything they have done together, Rachel never would have suspected it, never would have seen it coming, okay? As far as Rachel, I feel like she was under the influence of her mother. Very Norma and Norman Bates-like influence, like borderline sick. But at the end of the day, she is an adult with autonomy, so she too is right where she belongs, in prison. Rachel didn't learn French, girl, and never made it to France. That's crazy. That pretty much concludes today's story. Please let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. She sounds a lot like the other lady. Was it Stacey Castor? I just did a story on a lady who was killing up everybody, girl, and tried to kill her own child. And frame her child. Yeah, it's definitely given that. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video if you have not. Subscribe if you have not. Share this video. We are trying to get to 300K this year, okay? We only got like 6 months left in the year, but I think we can make it. Help a girl out, okay? And shout out to all the new people who are here. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. So we are going to get right into this. I'm gonna take the hair off for right now. Lay you right up there. Marriage put, okay. And in addition to their finances putting a toll or taking one? What is it? And he is at this point no longer. His death is no, I don't even know I was going with that in because I was thinking ruled. His death is ruled as having been, his death is ruled as not an accident. The remaining family, Sarah, the still unemployed college grad, is now 26. She's 24. Sean is 26, girl. Little girl, get you some business that does not involve you making noise in the background. There are no signs of any type of guilt or taken into custody. Child, she didn't get the collect go nor collect $200. Eyeliner girl, what are you doing? All right, my eyeliner started leaking, girl. For whatever reason, it got my eye watering, but I don't feel any pain or any discomfort. But child, if it keeps on leaking like so, we're gonna have to switch her out. And it's so pretty, but a girl can't lose her eye. Like, come on now. This is such a pretty color. Like, it pains me. Why wouldn't I start with the eye that's leaking? I don't know. Sometimes I just don't make the best decisions. She also says, quote, is this eyeliner or lip liner? Both severe. Only the quiet ones will be left. My mother, only the quiet ones. Child, let me put my hair on right quick so I can finish the story. And Diane says that she told what she was. No. I feel like this wig is a little too blonde. I think I might add some low lights to it. I belong with you, you belong with me, you're my sweetheart. Not the hiccups. I love me a little piece of iced coffee, but it is 1:39 p.m. baby. I need to quit with the caffeine. I almost forgot to do my outro. I was about to turn off the camera. Me, myself, and I, that's all I got in the end. That's what I found out. I'm about to start singing that, girl. Baby, I'm about to start crawling all around on the ground, baby. The way Bella would jump on my back and I would instantly have an attitude and it would just be so much chaos. I'm not gonna do it. Does it not make my head look big and my face look small, or am I tripping? Let me get a thumbnail and get out of here, baby.